Alright, so we're about to start our first science unit, environments, and this is our first investigation, and it's part one of our investigation, and we're doing observing mealworms. Oops. There we go. And so we always start with a question, and this is, we're going to be writing this into your science notebook. So right now I just want you to listen. And then we'll go back and write some things down in our science notebook. So you will need a notebook for your science. And our question right now is, how do the structures of an organism allow it to survive in its environment? So we're going to break that down, and let's see if Ms. Corbin can get this so we can see both. There we go. So here's my science notebook, and I'm just going to turn it to our first page. So whatever notebook you choose for science, that is up to you. And we're going to write down our driving question. So we start with our date. So our date is going to be 9/14. And this is our question. And if you want to write the words driving question down, you can. But for right now, I'm just going to write the question in red. So it's going to be, how do the structures you can tell Ms. Corbin has a new book because that page does not want to stay open. It doesn't even want to bend. Sorry, my friends. There we go. How do the structures of an organism, and I'm going to skip a line because we're going to be underlining some of our words. How does the structures of an organism allow it to survive in its environment? Oops, in its So all of our investigations are going to be, whoops, I didn't spell survive right. There we go. In its environment. So all of our investigations are going to be following this question. And the words that we're going to talk about are structures. I want to make sure you know what the word structures mean. Organism. Survive. And environment. So we're not just talking about how the animal looks. We're talking about the parts of an animal that allow it to survive. So another word for structures are the parts. The parts of and then an organism can be an animal or plant. Survive, allow it to survive, so that would be live. And the environment is kind of like its home or habitat. So this is what we're going to be learning about. So how do the parts of an animal allow it to survive in its environment? So how do the structures of an animal? So let's go ahead and let's go to our next slide. I'm going to go ahead and make it bigger. It says you will be studying an organism called a mealworm. You will observe these organisms to find out about their structures and their behaviors. Each structure and behavior has a purpose or a function that helps an organism survive. Now, so before we go to the next sentence, I want to write down a couple more words. So I want you to write down behavior, And I want you to write down function. Okay, so I picked those words because they're part of the blue words. We've talked about organism, we talked about structure. A mealworm is the type of animal that we're going to be looking at, and behaviors and function. So the behavior is how it acts. And the function is purpose, the why. Why does it need it? Why does it need to do that? So for example, if we are, whoa, it's making it hard to see, sorry. So for example, what is your hand is picking up, like moving close, closing your fingers around a pencil. Why? That's the behavior. So what's the function? Why do we do that? So we can pick something up. So when you're looking at the mealworm, we're going to be looking at its structures, its body parts, and we're going to be thinking about why does it have that, and how does that behavior, what does it do, help it function and survive? So what's the purpose of it? And then our question right here is, what do you know about mealworms? Now, if you were in second grade in a Dodea school, you've probably looked at mealworms before. So what do you know about mealworms? So right here, go ahead and just brainstorm, what are some of the things that you know about mealworms? And here's a picture of a mealworm, if you have no idea. If you don't know, just put a question mark, but maybe you have some ideas of what are some things that you know about that mealworm. Tomorrow, we will be watching little videos at each stage of the life cycle to look at the structures of the mealworm, what it has and what it uses it for, and also how it changes.